Hello guys and welcome to WWII's War Thunder Tips. And today we are going to be taking a look at the second trajectory of the 5 we are going to do. Uh, Today we are going to be taking a look at the German trajectory, the same way that some days ago we were looking at the American one. So, well, let's move into that. There are several different trees in the German trajectory. This is one of the best fleshed out trees in the game right now. Has a lot of planes in most of the levels. Still is not without problems. The German tree can be resumed that from level, well, the reserves up to level 6, level 5 in the incoming patch with the new BF109, it's really lacking, really bad. There are very few planes there that are really worth it. From level 6 up to level 16, it has really good planes and is highly competitive. But in the end game, from level 17 to level 20, which has no planes in this trajectory, is seriously lacking. The German tree has, of course, no Korean War jets because German jets stopped flying after 1945. There's a lot of problems with the high tiering of German jets, and that they are forced to face Korean era war jets in the Allied teams. The whole tree is actually very capable. Usually teams are really good in player capacity and player ability. And well, let's take a look at each one of the trees. Let's begin with the reserves. The reserves are the Henkel 51s. There are 4 of them. These are pretty much average, not really bad, not really good reserves. They can get the job done, nothing to complain about that. They are reserves after all. We are not going to spend massive amounts of things from a reserve aircraft. Then we can move on to the Italian line. The Italian line has several fighters and several bombers. The first fighter is the CR-42, a biplane, the Falco, which is lackluster. Compared with other level 1 biplanes, this is not as good as the Gladiator, and certainly is nowhere near as close to be competitive versus an I-153. Has pretty good firepower for a biplane with a couple of heavy machine guns, with quite a lot of ammo, but other than that is unimpressive. The G50 series are poor. They are slow, they climb accelerate very slow, they only can turn, and they are not really good for that either. To compound that, they have very light weapons of just 2 heavy machine guns with only 150 rounds per gun, which is really painful. It's very hard to get kills with these things. You can do so, but it's a challenging ride indeed. They are not good. MC200 is mostly the same as the G50, but with a lot more ammo for the machine guns, which is highly desirable. Still, they simply are not ready to compete, given that they are going to be matchmaked against broken fighters, against Spitfire Mark 1s, etc. This is a level 3. It's very hard to compete with these planes. The first real good plane in the German trajectory is MC202. Level 4 fighter, really good fighter, very nice acceleration, excellent climb rate, doesn't turn bad, but it's not a turner, and decent in boom and zoom tactics. The only downside of this plane is that it has very light weapons. Again, a couple of heavy machine guns, with enough ammunition at least, and a couple of light machine guns, 7.7 Breda Safats, with a lot of ammo as well, but they are 7.7s. The problem with this plane is the weapons. They really don't hit that hard, and you need a lot of lead on targets to kill it. But other than that, this is a fantastic fighter. The S-79s and S-79B, well, these are the bombers of the Italian line, pretty quick, pretty fast, not really well defended. This is a theme with the German and Italian bombers. They tend to be pretty fast, not really resilient to damage, have pretty poor defensive weapons, but they can carry a lot of bombs and they are pretty quick. And this is the case with the Sparvieros, the S-79s. Moving on to the main BF109 line. After the reserve planes, you have the Henkel 112, which comes in 3 different versions: the V5, the A2, and the V0. The V5 has a couple light machine guns. The A0 comes with one 20mm cannon. They are very similar to each other. Pretty slow, not real good climbers, not real good accelerators, but they turn very well. The 20mm in the Henkel 112A0 is pretty misleading. It's very slow firing, doesn't hit really hard, but well, it's much better, of course, than a couple light machine guns. The Henkel 112B0 is a level 4, and it's not bad for a level 4, but really is a little bit underwhelming, keeping in mind that you have to go versus P40s, versus light GG3s, or versus Spitfire Mark 1s. And you are going to find higher tiers, of course. So you are going to find broken fighters, you are going to find Yak 7Bs, you are going to find really, it's outclassed. It's not bad, but it's certainly outclassed. At least it has firepower with a couple cannons, which are not really good 20mm, but well, at least they have some nice firepower. The problem is the ammunition. They don't have a lot of rounds per weapon. Level 6 finally, well, at level 5 in 1.35 you are going to have the first BF109E, which is going to be the E1, which will have 4 light machine guns. It's going to be more or less the same story as the MC202, a very capable plane, just without the firepower to really mean a difference. I mean, yeah, well, the BF109 E3, level 6, first BF109 so far in the German line. Good accelerator, great climber, pretty good turner, pretty quick for its level. It's a great fighter. Again, the problem is the weapons. MGFFs, they don't get really the things done easily. But still, it's a highly capable plane, and it's the first German fighter that can really compete in an equal footing with other nations. BF109 F4, level 8, and F4 Trop, level 8. Excellent fighters, increase acceleration and climb rate over the E3. They lose a little bit of turn rate, but they are faster. Really good fighters. BF109 G2, excellent fighter. One of the best 109s, in fact. Great climb rate, great acceleration, loses turning versus the F4, but still is a decent turner, is very maneuverable, and is pretty fast. It's not the fastest thing around, but it's pretty fast. Really great fighter, indeed. BF109 G6, the black sheep of the BF109 family. It actually climbs worse and turns much worse than the BF109 F4. It's not as fast as the BF109 G2. The thing is that it mounts a 30mm machine cannon in the engine, and it has heavy machine guns for the first time in the German trajectory. Is the firepower worth the loss of performance and maneuverability? People think so, at least. In arcade, really, yes it does. In historical battles, I don't like this plane, to be honest, at all. But, well, it's a matter of tastes. I think this is the worst BF109. So far, I think so. Next in line is the BF109 G10, a plane with some flight model issues. In my opinion, is overperforming. Not by a huge lot, but indeed is. And it's too good. It's simply too good for what it should be. But of course, that means that it's excellent. Really good. Excellent climb rate, excellent acceleration, surprisingly good turning for a plane this heavy. It's heavier than the G2, but actually turns more or less the same. It's a brutal fire. It's really good. The next one is the BF109 K4, which is a G10 in steroids, but this one should be. I mean, this one I think is actually overperforming by a decent margin. I think the K4 is dead on what it should be. Incredible climb rate, incredible acceleration, doesn't turn really good. It's noticeable worse turning than the G10, at least in my experience, which is not a lot. You can see I don't have it really developed, but I have played quite some with this thing in historical battles, and I feel it turns better than the G10. Um, Otherwise, it's really similar. Adds speed, acceleration, and climb rate over the G10, but loses some maneuverability. Next in line, the MH163B rocket plane, which climbs like a rocket, is as fast as a rocket. It's a rocket. Basically, it's a rocket plane. The problem, of course, is the fuel. Only 6 minutes of fuel. That's very little. But while it has power, it's one of the best planes in the whole plane set. The thing is, of course, that 6 minutes of fuel means that if the enemy is smart, you are going to be forced to land before you actually engage with all your power. So yeah, it's limited. ME262 is a disgrace. I'm simply going to say that in that way. Underperforming, over-tiered, forced to go against Korean war jets when it even doesn't have the historical performance of the ME262. Horrid plane. Focus line starts at level 10 from 1.35. In level 10, you're going to have a focus line NE5, focus line NE5 U2, focus line NE F4, the Dora 12, the TA152 H1, and the Henkel 162 A2. The focus line NE5 is a highly capable, really good accelerator, has a pretty strong clean rate, doesn't turn worth a crap, but has an excellent roll rate. It's the dream boom assumer. And you want to use it as that. The 1.35 incoming focus line NE5 is going to have 4 cannons, 2 MG151s and 2 MGFFs, which means quite a lot of firepower. It's excellent in dive and zoom, really powerful plane. Focus line NE F8, sorry. This is actually a ground attack plane of the German trajectories. It was specialized for a ground attack role in history. In the game, it's a highly capable fighter, but it doesn't turn or accelerate or climb or anywhere as good as a focus line NE5. It's much heavier. Of course, that means also it's a better boom assumer. So some people like it, some people don't. Next in line is the focus line D12, currently broken, doesn't have the engine power it should, so until it's fixed, it's hard to say anything about this plane. Should be an incredible ride and one of the best late war fighters, but currently it can barely take off, so horrid plane. TA152 H1. Complained by Mats for having a problematic flight model and being underperforming. I don't think the TA152 actually underperforms. It does so at very high altitudes, but so do all the rest of the fighters in all the nations, because high altitude in War Thunder is not properly modeled, and it's a known issue and is intended to be fixed in the future. At medium and low altitudes, this plane is simply excellent. It's very fast, accelerates really well, is a really decent climber, not to the point of being a Spitfire, but really climbs well, and maneuvers like a dream. I mean, this is a boom assumer's dream. It has very balanced controls, a high speed, maneuvers sharply, has heavy weapons, including a 30mm cannon feeding through the propeller hub. Excellent fighter. In my opinion, this is one of the best fighters of the German trajectory, even besting the Bf109K4. This is my personal opinion. Henkel 162 A2. Same story as the ME262. It's not performing according to historical specs. It's forced to go against Korean war jets. Still is better than the ME262, which is pretty stupid given that it's 2 levels below. But no, this is not a good plane, not by any means. A heavy fighter line. BF110, sorry, C4, level 4. Well flown, this plane is actually highly capable in level 4. Mostly because most people doesn't know how to fly at those levels. Heavy firepower, but it's a heavy plane and suffers as such. Also, I think the flight model is not really well because it really loses a lot of speed in turns when it shouldn't. But well, Dornier 217, J1, J2, and N1, level 6 and 7. German broken fighters. Basically, that's what they are. They are German broken fighters, 1 level and 2 levels above the broken fighter of the British, but they turn really well. They simply overperform. They have a placeholder flight model, And while not as broken as the broken fighter, because the broken fighter can turn with a hurricane, these are really broken. These turn too good, are too fast, accelerate too well, and then of course they have the historical weapons. So yeah, very powerful planes, but currently not with a proper flight model. ME410, A, B, and B6. And these are, in my opinion, the currently the only twin-engine planes in the game with something resembling a realistic flight model. I'm not saying it's totally faultless, because it's not, but these are heavy fighters, they fly as heavy fighters, they feel as heavy fighters, and if you start trying to turn, you are going to die. Unless in other twin-engine planes that simply turn like biplanes, but well. They are very similar. At level 8 you have the A1 versions, at level 9 you have the B versions. The A versions come in 3 flavors. A fighter bomber with ability to mount bombs. A heavy fighter with no ability to mount bombs, but 4 20mm cannons. A heavy fighter with a troll cannon, with a 50mm cannon. And yeah, the B versions are very similar: fighter bomber, heavy fighter, troll fighter. The version with the 50mm cannon is not really useful at historical battles. It's fun to use in arcade battles, however. And finally, at level 10 you have a P6 R3, which is really powerful. It's like a B1 with 4 20mm cannons, but it has a couple of high velocity 30mm cannons. Really powerful firepower, but really heavy fighter. So yeah, it's a pretty good fighter, so even more if you are going against bombers. But yeah, it's heavy. It's very fast, but it's heavy. Stuka line, Stuka B2, R2, they are basically the same. Nice side bombers, but still they have not that good bomb load, which is probably its worst part. Can mount at 250 kg bombs, and that's not enough. Junkers 87, D3 and D5. They can mount a lot more bombs and much heavier than the R2 and B2, so better bombers. And the D5 mounts 20mm cannons. Given that the Stuka is a low speed, it's very slow, but it's very maneuverable, has very wide wings. You can surprise more than one fighter and two with the D5. With this firepower and the ability to turn in a dime, you can actually surprise more than one people with this thing. Junkers 87, G1 and G2. The difference is that the G1 has half the ammunition than the G2 for the 37mm troll cannons. They are troll planes. They are really good to blow enemy armor, and in arcade you can one-shot enemies. Very fun plane to fly in arcade, really challenging ride in historical battles. Hensel 129 B2, level 13. I think this is hugely over-tiered. Doesn't have the proper flight model anyway, and it has a 30mm high velocity cannon, which allows it to have it easier at the moment of aiming, but doesn't get the job done as well as a 37mm does. So there are people who really like this plane. I think it's over tiered, and that it should somehow be a level 8 maybe, with a proper fixed flight model and maybe more weapon options. Bomber lines. There are 3 flavors of German bombers: the Henkel 111, the Junkers 88, and the Dornier 217. The Dornier 217s have mostly exactly the same problem as the Night Fighter versions. Not a complete flight model, they maneuver too well, but still they have some historicality in that they are very quick. The Henkel 111, sorry, the Henkel 111, they are very slow bombers, quite tough, but not really tough. Mount a lot of bombs, but they are really slow. So lots of bombs, vulnerable, slow. That's the Henkel 111. Junkers 88 is like a Henkel 111, but with a little less resilience to damage, but much faster. Still is not as fast as the historical one was, but very capable bomber, even more so for a level 5. This is a very highly capable bomber. Dornier 217s, as I told you, they don't have the proper flight model. They are really good bombers, especially the E versions, the 11 and version 12 and level 12. The level 14s, the problem they have is that they are very fast, but so are the enemy fighters, and they have, well, they usually have 420 millimeters. I rarely see these things, and for a reason, they are too vulnerable. And finally, the Arado 234, which is an absolute joke, and I'm not even going to comment. Just simply don't bother with it. Premium planes. Premium version of the CR42, a premium version of the Henkel 112B1, a premium version of the British Wellington, premium version of the P47D. It performs really similar to the P47 American one, but it's slower and climbs worse, even worse than the American one. Still, well flown is a highly capable fighter. German version of the LA5FN, really good fighter, and the Focke-Wulf D13, which was the target of most of the hate of this game maybe 3 months ago. Currently is underperforming, but it's still usable. It's still a very good fighter. So yeah, that's it for the German trajectory as a whole. As I told you, low levels, really challenging, and probably the worst nation at the moment. High levels, really challenging, and probably the second worst nation after Japan, which simply doesn't have high level planes, so whatever. But mid game is really strong. This is a really fun tree to fly, has really capable fighters and bombers and attack planes. It's well fleshed out, you have a lot of different options, different planes to fly, really highly recommendable. This is one of the, also the one thing is that the styles that the German trees excel at are boom and zoom and energy fighters. The BF-109 versions are energy fighters, the Focke-Wulf are boom and zoomers. They are, other than the very low level stuff, they are not really turn fighters in this nation. But there is more variety than only boom and zoom, which is mostly the case with the American tree. So this is a very good tree for beginners, because you are going to learn a lot about air combat. You have a lot of more flexibility in how you fly your plane. You can go more strictly boom and zoom, or you can allow yourself into energy fighting. And even with some planes, you can actually turn for a while. With the BF-109 E3, the F4, you can actually turn with enemies. But it's not recommended. Still, it's a very good nation to learn. Also, it's to be kept in mind that the German tree adds another level of flexibility. With the BF-109s, you have the option to, from the F4 onwards, you have the option to mount, actually I don't have them in the top, sorry. This is how much I fly this plane, almost nothing. You have the option to mount cannons in the wings. You can actually triple your 20mm ammunition, your firepower, but at the cost of maneuverability and performance. So you can do that. It's another option. There are 30mm campos for the G6, G10, and quadruple, well, 30mm cannons for the F8, and quadruple 20mm cannons for the Focke-Wulf U3. Still, they kill your performance, they kill your maneuverability, you lose a lot when you use them, but the option is there. So it's, again, the nice thing about this nation is that it's highly flexible. It's really a tree when you will probably and for sure find a plane that totally suits you, and then you can fine-tune it to suit your needs in case you want more firepower or not, you want more performance or not, etc. Drawbacks of the German tree, other than the problem with the high tiers and low tiers, is that usually they have very high repair costs. They are very expensive to run. But still, amazing tree, very well fleshed out, very good, nice tree to fly and try. So I highly recommend it for beginners. You are going to learn a lot flying these planes. Even more so because in the low levels you are going to struggle a little bit. But that's not bad, because the low levels you are going to go through them very quickly. At level 6 is not really hard to reach. And once you are at level 6, you are in for a hell of a ride, because the later planes are really good. So well, that's it for the German trajectory analysis, guys. Next one in line, Soviet tree. Until then, hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and see you later. There's a place where life's a little easy. The stress from the world outside. Never be longer, we'll be alright.